As usual, we've gathered here today to listen to another dispensation of the Lord Buddha's teaching. Before we commence today's sermon, let us as usual remind ourselves that the reason we have this gift of Dhamma today to help us all unshackle ourselves from samsara, to cross the ocean of samsara, to redeem ourselves and to earn our salvation is because of the Supreme Buddha. It is because of the Omniscient One, the perfectly enlightened One. If not for Him, you and I, all sentient beings in all the worlds, will be destitute, lost and in despair. It is because of His infinite compassion we are able today to understand ourselves, to redeem ourselves from this endless cycle of suffering. So bearing that in mind, reflecting on the gratitude that we all have in our hearts and in our minds towards the Supreme Buddha, let us all take a moment to pay homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And also before we commence, let us all take a moment to observe the 5 precepts, reminding ourselves that we are yet again finding ourselves in circumstances which are not ideal, in circumstances where we may have been in situations where we were unable to observe or abide by the precepts that we vowed to observe. In the hope, determination and resolve that may this be the last time I have to observe the precepts, may this be the last time where I have to train my mind to abide by these precepts. May these precepts be part and parcel of my own conscience. May these precepts be weaved into the very fabric of my conscience with that firm resolve, determine and hope in mind. Let us all take a moment to observe the precepts. And in order to do so, please all recite together and after me. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Saranagamanaṃ sampunnaṃ Pānātipātā veramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Adinādāna veramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Kāmesu miccācārā veramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Musāvādā veramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Suramera Majjapama Datthana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Tisaranena sadding panchasilang dhammang sadhukhang surakkitang kattva appamadena sampadetabang. Okay, you may all now be seated. Most venerable members of the Mahasangha, ladies and gentlemen, before we commence the sermon, let us all take a moment to invite all the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead, all those sentient beings we will have come across in samsara, all those sentient beings who will have been mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, grandparents, teachers, our elders, our forefathers, our ancestors, in whichever capacity they might have been related to us. They will all have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form, or in some way, in some shape or in some form. It is now the prime opportunity for us to repay the debts that we owe them, and that is by giving them the gift of Dhamma. So, let us all make use of that opportunity to invite all those beings out there to join us. May they all witness this meritorious deed, and if any of them have today been born in the woeful plains, may they be able to rejoice in these merits such that they can redeem themselves from those woeful plains and be born in the blissful plains. And for all beings already in the blissful plains, may they be able to listen to this Dhamma, understand it, comprehend it, and be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So, with that hope, wish, prayer and determine in mind, let us all take a moment to invite them. So as I now make this invitation, I invite you all to extend that invitation in your hearts and in your minds to all those beings in 100,000 world systems. May they all join us. May they all listen to this Dhamma. May they all rejoice in this meritorious deeds and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gacchantu Devata Sadhamang Munirajansa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhamma savana kalo ayang bhadanta Dhamma savana kalo ayang bhadanta Dhamma savana kalo ayang bhadanta. And also before we commence the sermon, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves that in this infinitely long journey in samsara, in which we can see no beginning, we have not always had the opportunity to associate with noble and moral people. Virtually all our associations have been with immoral, ignoble people. Such associations which defiled our minds with raga, dvesha, moha, desire, aversion and delusion. And having been blinded with ignorance and attachment, that is avidya and tanha, innumerable will be the times we will have offended, abused, slandered and desecrated the noble ones, the Aryas, the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacheka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagami, Sahrudagami, Sotapannas, be they on the path or having attained the fruits, as well as the Sambuddha Shasana, the Buddhist ministry. So, before we all commence this sermon, reminding ourselves that this is who we will certainly have been in this long journey in samsara, being humble enough to accept and acknowledge that, with humility in our minds, let us all take a moment to seek forgiveness for any actions, words or thoughts of abuse, of slander we might have directed towards those noble ones, either knowingly or unknowingly, may they find the compassion within their hearts to forgive us. And finally, let us all make a firm resolve that through the course of this sermon, if there are any gaps in your understanding, in your comprehension, which are yet to be fulfilled, such that you may be able to attain the state of Sotapanna, let us make a firm resolve that may you be able to achieve that through the course of this sermon. And if there are any among you who have already attained that noble state, then I invite you all to make a firm resolve to be able to fulfill the subsequent stages and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. With that firm resolve, hope and determination in mind, I invite you all to prepare yourselves to listen to this sermon. Okay. This is what they call the graveyard shift. Have you heard that expression? Because you're good as dead. Most people. Not you. I mean, usually at this time of day, this is what happens. Because this is how our biological clocks tick. And sometimes, if we don't do what's necessary, then it can get the better of us. So we must all strive to not let that happen. Like you all did in the meditation session. You did so, didn't you? No, I must say, you did fare well. So well done. It was good to see a lot of familiar faces in last week's program. And I think those who attended said that they had gained something, at least, out of it. And most of you said they've gained a lot out of it. And we will continue to do that in future. But of course it's very important that we continue to reflect on the Dhamma and listen to the Dhamma, understand it, and seek if there are any gaps in our understanding, any holes that still need to be filled, and make sure that we do that. And alongside that, you must be always willing and seek opportunities to earn merits as well. You must never forget that. Even for monks who have gone forth and have resolved to attain Nibbana, the Buddha encourages them to engage in meritorious deeds. Did you know that in simply inviting someone to preach the Dhamma, by offering them some betel leaves like you do always, do you know how much merit that earns you? Enough merit to avoid the 4 hells for 9 eons. That's how much merit one can earn if with the right mind and heart someone makes an invitation to preach the Dhamma. 9 incalculable eons. So how much merit do you think is there in preaching the Dhamma then? What about in reflecting anicca dukkha anatta? We all know when the Buddha was asked how much merit does it earn when someone offers a dana, give alms to a normal human being, and how he made the comparison. The merit you earn by offering a meal to a regular person is 100 times more, or 100,000 times more. I think it was 100 times more than offering the same meal to an animal. And then he goes on. And he says, offering the same meal to one who's on the Sotapanna marga, so on the path to becoming a Sotapanna, is 100 times more than offering that same meal, that exactly same meal, to one who's just a regular person. And then he says, if you offer the exact meal to someone who's a Sotapanna, who has already attained the state of Sotapanna, then the merit you earn by doing that is 100 times more than the previous one. And he goes on, Sakurdagami marga, Sakurdagami pala. Anagami Marga, Anagami Pala. Arihat Marga, Arihat Pala. And then Pacceka Buddha. Then Samma Sambuddha. And then he says Mahasangha. So he says, offering the same meal to a Buddha compared to offering that meal to the Mahasangha in mind. So not to one person but to the Mahasangha. The merit you earn is 100 times more than offering the same meal, the same thing, to the Supreme Buddha. So we must be knowledgeable about these things, because otherwise we kick away opportunities to earn really powerful merits. This is why Guru Swami Maharaj always says, don't set your mind on one person. Don't venerate one individual. So when you see a Swami Maharaj, think of the Mahasangha. So whatever offering you make, that might be just a worship. That's still okay. Even then, keep in mind the Mahasangha. And then after having said all that, the Buddha says, if you reflect on Anicca Dukkha Anatta, for one flash of a second, the time it takes you to inhale the smell of a rose or a flower, the merit you earn by doing that is 100 times more than offering a meal to the Mahasangha. Which one costs more? How much does it cost you to reflect on Anicca Dukkha Anatta? Absolutely nothing. Of course, to offer a meal, it's going to cost you something. Even if it is you giving away something you already have in your possession, it's still you're giving away something that you are going to consume. So you need to find something now to fill your stomach. Even if that is the case, you're still giving away something material. This is the difference. But when you have set your mind on reflecting on Anicca Dukkha Anatta, that's not something material you're giving. In fact, you're giving up attachment to all things that are material. And the merit you earn by doing that is simply immeasurable. 100 times more than offering a meal to the Mahasangha, which is 100 times more than offering a meal to the Supreme Buddha. Because otherwise you might be disheartened. Oh, if only the Buddha were around. If the Buddha were around, where would you all go to offer your alms? You'd go looking for him, wouldn't you? And then he would turn you back. He'd tell you, why are you coming to me? When I have said, offer it to the Mahasangha. What about the monk in your local temple? Is that not a member of the Mahasangha? So why have you come running looking for me? You are not following my instruction. Therefore I have no time for you. The point being, always seek opportunities to earn merits, ladies and gentlemen. Never give up on that. Just because you are now determined on attaining Nibbana, don't turn a blind eye towards opportunities to earn merit. It doesn't require you to spend any money. Some of you may be capable of doing so, and others maybe not so much. Some of you may be money or cash rich, others will be time rich, cash poor. That's okay. Because you can't buy merit with money. If that were the case, then Anathapindika would be enjoying a golden palace right now in the Deva worlds. But alas, he was only left with a silver one. When the poor man who was stood observing this meritorious deed brought his hands together and said, Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That's all he did. How much did that cost him? Nothing. It is really so beautiful, this Shasana and the Dhamma. Because all it requires is willpower. A good vision, solid understanding, and willpower. It does not matter how much money you have in your pocket. It does not matter how much power you wield, how much knowledge you have. None of these things matter in the Sambuddha Shasana. To get to our goal, all that we require is to have a good vision, and that vision has to come with right view, and coupled with that, willpower. The power to stand against Raga, Dvesha, Moha, not anybody else or anyone else or anything else. It's Raga, Dvesha, Moha that we are always battling. We have no fights with anybody, do we? There are no battles to win fighting anybody. That's left to worldly beings. Let them fight each other and do whatever they want. Let them fight their battles. Because as one of you said, if I remember rightly, at the end of last week's sermon, you reflected on the formula we talked about some time ago. The formula that shows you exactly where suffering comes from. 1 times by the other equals suffering. Anicca times attachment equals suffering. Without the Buddha's teaching, you're trying to influence the wrong factor. You're trying to change the wrong factor. That's not the factor you ought to be changing. Because there's no end to it. Identifying the right factor is what right view is. Which factor must you influence? Which factor must you manipulate in order to get the result that you want? Just getting to that understanding is right view. That is what a Sotapanna possesses. A Sotapanna knows, no, it's not the anicca world that I need to try and change to become a nicca world. That's not what I need to do. I just need to rid attachment. Rid attachment and let the world be however it has to be, however it needs to be. Whatever the state is right now, that's okay. Just think about it. If we can all come to the mindset where we are okay with however the world is, whatever, okay. Do you like this or this? Whatever. Not like when young kids go, whatever. No, I don't mean that whatever. I mean, when it really doesn't matter, whichever. I don't mind, whichever. Do you like it black or white? Whichever. Do you like Mondays or Tuesdays? Whichever. Do you like a weekday or a weekend? Whichever. I don't mind. Do you like to be alive or dead? You don't mind. Whichever. Fill your boots. Just imagine that. To have the power, to have the freedom to be able to say that. Someone comes running to you wielding a sword or some kind of weapon. And for you not to be shaken one tiny bit. And even in that moment, to spread loving kindness to the person that's coming to end your life. Just imagine that. Just the feeling. Knowing that this is the last time I have to suffer. Even if a sword goes across my neck, this is the last time I have to suffer. No more suffering. That's it. Chances are you're going to say, why didn't you come yesterday? I was here waiting for you. Just imagine that freedom, that liberation. That would be ecstatic. That would what ecstasy would be. Not the drug. And we can all get there. Each and every one of you. Because you all have within yourselves the power to achieve that. Don't anyone tell you otherwise. Each and every one of you. No matter what age you are. Man or woman. Adult or child. Don't let anyone put you off course. Don't let anyone shake your confidence. Because you all can. I will vouch for that. Provided you practice what you need to. Provided you get yourself that right view, right vision, clear-cut vision, laser-sharp focus, and the willpower. Because I don't say it's easy. It's not easy. If it were, I'd have done it by now. I thought it was going to be so easy when I first ordained. I thought as they were shaving my head, I'd get it done. As do all people when they ordain. I'd say 99% of people, having listened to stories of the great elders of the past. 99% of people, they sit down when they're having their heads shaved to become a monk. People think, right, that's it, I'm going to get it done now. Kesa, Loma, alright, I should be a Sakurdagami by now. Naka, yep, that's me, Anagami. Danta, Tacho, yep, got it done. And then you get a cut on your head by mistake. Ow, easy. Where did that anger come from? So it's not easy. I'll give you that. But that's not to say it's impossible. This is not mission impossible. This is mission possible. In fact, this is the only mission that is worth endeavoring. This is the only thing that is really worth doing, as we will be discussing throughout the sermon. Everything else is simply a means to an end. Everything else you have done so far in your lives, none of it is going to see you through. None of it you're going to take away with you. Not even a flock of hair. You could be dressed in your finest. You're not going to take it with you. You could have the grandest coffin. You know, some people, they pay up front for their coffins. They pay in advance. Because they want to look their best. People say these things. Can you believe it? I want to look my best. On my last journey, people say, I want to look tip-top. So in advance, they make arrangements. Because even after death, they want to show the world that I am somebody. I'm an important person. I am a VIP. So they get themselves a VIP casket in a VIP hearse on a VIP journey, but not to a very VIP destination. What a pity. Nothing we have done in our lives, ladies and gentlemen, really amounts to anything except for this one thing that we all need to endeavor on. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You can think of any example you like. From the faintest memory you have of doing whatever it was as a child, all the way up until now, anything that was an abhisankara and not a kusala sankara was just a waste of time. Of course, it would have earned you merits if you did punya abhisankara. Yes. But compared to nirvana, it's all fruitless, essenceless. You might have paved the path to get to Nibbana, but that's all it should have been. This is why I say, earn merit as much as you possibly can. You're thinking, hang on a second, I thought you just said it's all pointless. No, that's not what I meant. When you do merit, ask yourself, why am I doing merit? Is it for a better tomorrow? Is it because the grass is greener on the other side? I just want to get to the other side. Is that what it is all about? Because then it's the wrong purpose. Every time you do a meritorious deed, think to yourself, may this be the last time I have to do this. Every time you come to the monastery, offer alms, think to yourself, may this be the last time I have to do this. If you get the opportunity to do it again, do it. But not because you have to. Now we are doing it because we have to. Yes or no? We are doing merits because we have to. We haven't earned enough merit yet. So we have to keep doing merit. We have to keep engaging in meritorious deeds. But I don't think any of you among here, or in the audience, do merit so that you can be born in the blissful plane as a Sakra, Mahabrahma. You want to go there? Sure? What about Superman? You can fly. There should only be one purpose to merit. May this be the last time I have to do this meritorious deed. May I never have to give alms again. May I never have to. Not may I never get the chance to. May I never have to. Because right now we have to. That must be our determination. Everything else is a waste of time. It's only the thoughts, the speech and the actions, or the words and the actions that you do in order to either directly attain Nibbana or to create the environment which is conducive to Nibbana. It's only one of those two things that is really worth doing. Otherwise everything else is just pointless. Even if you do a meritorious deed, ultimately what you are hoping for is Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana to come your way. Favorable ones. This is what merit is all about. Merits bring you favorable Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Demerits bring you unfavorable Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, because as you know by now, the arising of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana is driven by vipaka of previous karma. Previous karma determines what kind of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana come and take seat in this chitta that arises and passes away. So this is all influence, this is all predetermined by the karma you have done in the past. So you can't change it now because it's simply vipaka. So the difference is, the type of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana that come your way now is dependent on the good karma or the bad karma you've done in the past. Why do you think you get to listen to this sermon right now? Good karma. Why do you think we get each other's acquaintance, each other's association? The association of noble ones, the association of moral ones. It's because of good karma. Why do you think you get 3 square meals every day so you don't have to be hungry? Good karma. Ultimately, it's Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. You like to watch TV. You get to watch TV. That's again good karma. The vipaka of good karma you've done in the past. But the thing is this, for someone who has no understanding of the Dhamma, rewards of good merits, very dangerous. For someone who has no understanding of the Dhamma, the rewards of good merit is very dangerous. Why? Because now you have received, it's like winning the lottery. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends, doesn't it? Someone uneducated, no idea about how you should be spending your money and how you shouldn't be spending your money. An evil person. This person wins the lottery. You're going to say that's a good thing? So winning the lottery, again, you can't say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing because it depends on who's just won the lottery. Someone is very meritorious. He's a philanthropist. Always likes to give away. For that person, of course. Because all he wants to do is give away. Does good to oneself as well as to others. Now that person, he's worth winning the lottery. Winning that lottery is a result of good karma. Whether you're a good person or a bad person, winning a lottery is the result of good karma. But what happens after that is left, yet to be decided. You win the lottery. Everyone gets to know about it. No? Good people and bad people get to know about it. No? You're going to say winning the lottery was good? It baffles me how sometimes, when people win the lottery, it's all over the media. Sometimes they have billboards cut out of people who won the lottery. This person lives in this town, has just won the lottery. Are you mad? Where do you think you live? Hello? You live in a world full of murderers and robbers and thieves. You've just announced. But people will still do it because why? Self-preservation, fostering the self. I'm a rich person now, just so you know. I've got means now. I'm an important person now. Everyone's on a quest to try and become a VIP, so they can live a VIP lifestyle. But really, VIPs are not born, VIPs are made. VIPs are made by the way that they conduct themselves, the way they conduct their speech and action and thoughts. That's how a VIP is made. Guru Hamdru talks about the Vasala Sutra, the discourse on outcasts. He was born into a society that was ridden by the caste system, and there were a bunch of people called the outcasts. Everyone rejected them and despised them, so they were called the outcasts. That translation doesn't really cut it for the word Vasalaya. Because if you take the etymology of that word, there's a much deeper and profound meaning. Outcast is simply someone who's been cast out. A dejected person. There's more to it than that. But the Buddha says, the important thing to take from here, from that discourse is, the Buddha says, an outcast is not born, but he's made through his actions. So anyone can decide, do I want to become a Brahmin, a Brahmana, or do I want to become an outcast? You get to decide that. You, each and every one of you can decide. If you use foul speech, foul actions, and you allow your mind to be contaminated with raga, dvesha, moha, then you're on the path to becoming a Vasalaya, an outcast. Only poor people can become an outcast, right? Only poor people can become a Vasalaya? No? How does a rich man become a Vasalaya? Yes, it's how they conduct themselves. And it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're rich or poor, black or white, what background you come from, none of that matters. All that matters is how you conduct yourself. So seek opportunities to do as much merits as you possibly can. Even if it's simply, this is why, with young children I always say, it's about time I do a check again. Have you started helping your parents around at home now? Yes? Do you sweep the house now? Sometimes? All the time? Not yet? Do they clean after themselves? Wash their dishes? Good. Don't be the Vasalaya at home. These are all meritorious deeds. Helping your parents out. Spouses help the other. Help your spouse, help your husband, help your wife. Be kind to them. Use good words, nice words, soft words when you talk to them. Don't say anything that hurts them, hurts their feelings, intentionally. If it's not intentional, well, you can't help it. But don't intentionally hurt anybody's feelings. You have to point out when something's right and wrong. But you're only doing that to point out what's right and wrong, not to hurt their feelings. So I'm a strong believer in the fact that there are no good people and bad people. There are good deeds and bad deeds. People do good deeds and bad deeds. There's not a good person or a bad person. If someone does a bad deed, well, you give them instruction. You tell them that's wrong. Don't do that again. Now they become a person who does good things and refrains from doing bad things. But the same person the following day can start doing another bad thing. Everyone has a mixture of good and bad. Yes or no? Is there anyone here who only does good things? Anyone? We all do good and bad things. What we are trying to do is do less of the bad stuff and do more of the good stuff. And that comes with practice. You need good association to help people who always encourage you to think in a different way. Who always encourages you to stop doing bad things and continue to do the good things and do more good things. You have to find such association. You know, they say, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. The 5 people that you spend most of your time, generally speaking, you're their average. So if you surround yourselves with people who are stingy, who don't like to give, who always like to collect things and hoard stuff and never give anything away, then the chances are you're that kind of person. Because birds of a feather flock together, of course. Gati. Similar things attract. This is just the nature of the world. It's how things work. Similar things come together. So, ask yourself, who are the 5 people I spend most of my time with? It's a really interesting question, a really important question to ask from time to time. You know, once a month, do a check. If once a month is too frequent, once every 6 months, do a check. Self-check. Who are the 5 people I spend most of my time with? It could be at work, it could be at school. Who are the 5 children or the 5 other students you spend the most time with? Ask yourself. Because the more time you spend with them, the more you will become like them. Remember when Ananda Thero says, Bhagitun Mahansa, the Venerable Sir, I think half of your dispensation is dependent on Satpurusha Sevana, the association of noble ones. The Buddha says, no, Ananda, you got it wrong. All of it. So what he says is always be conscious, be thoughtful, be aware of the people you associate with. If you're on the path to Nibbana, make sure that the people that you associate are ones who are eager to get there as well, because then they'll encourage you to do so. They'll keep pulling you in that direction. This is why, Guru Swami always talks about lay life and why you should leave lay life and come and become a monk. This is why he says that. Because chances are, when you live a lay life, you have little control over the people you spend your time with. At work, how much can you decide that? Hardly at all. If you're not the boss, then you don't get to decide who you spend your time with. Your boss decides that on your behalf. If you're at school, you don't get to decide who you spend your time with most of the time. Who sits next to you is generally decided by the teacher. And also, when you're dependent on others to fulfill your needs, then sometimes you have no choice. But in the life of a monk, well, you can remove yourself from all those associations and be very picky about who you associate. We get that freedom to decide who we associate. We get to pick and choose. So we pick and choose the right people to associate. And those people we don't tend to associate are the ones we know they're not going to be helping us to fulfill this journey. Not because they don't have enough money in their pockets. It's because the kind of things that they do, the kind of words that they use, and the kind of thoughts that they always think about. Always dishing dirt on somebody else. Always finding fault with others. Some people are like that. Even when they go to the temple and they get to speak with the Swami Maharaj, they are always talking about other people's faults. Swami Maharaj, I met this man the other day. What a useless fellow. Bhagat didn't even talk to me properly. Always pointing the finger outwards. It's his fault, that person's fault, this person's fault. Some people, they try and... Fortunately, we don't get to meet a lot of people like that. But, that's probably because we seclude ourselves and we live in a rural monastery, which is really not close to anything else, any civilization. But the more you move towards the cities, urban temples, I really feel for the monks who spend their time there. Chances are, most of the time, the things that they get to talk about are economics. Right? Not in Sri Lanka, in the States. The oil price and why it's fluctuating so much. Politics. In England you have the 3 W's that people always talk about when you get together. Work, weather, the other one. Frivolous speech. Pointless, useless, no meaning. So ask yourself, who do you associate? Who are the 5 people you spend most of your time with? I would say do it immediately. As soon as you get home. Make a list of the 5 people you associate. Think about what sort of characteristics do they have. You tally all of that up. Take the average, that's who you are. If you want to do a self-evaluation, what kind of person am I? Here's the best way to find out. Make a list of the 5 people you associate the most. Start listing out their characteristics, good and bad. Now take the average. That's who you are. The reason for this is because you can be influenced. That's a dangerous thing. It can be a good thing, and so it can also be a bad thing. Until you become gati niyata. You're gati. You're the type of person you are. You're the caliber. You're the characteristics that you possess. Until it becomes fixed. When you can't be influenced then. You can't be manipulated. And gati niyata is someone who's a sotapanna. And then on that journey, when you become an arahant, there is nothing that can be done to change the kind of person you are. You're fixed. It's like set in stone. Like Arthur's sword. You can't be changed after that. So until you get there, of course it's good that you can be influenced, because if you associate the right people, you'll be influenced the right way. But if you associate the wrong people, then you're going to be influenced the wrong way. So do it. Homework. At work, at school, at home, you have little choice. But it's worth thinking about who do you spend most of your time at home also. Because what that will tell you is perhaps you need to help them become better people also. Because if they're the people you spend mostly... why do some of you sometimes bring your spouses along? And you talk to us and say, Swaminatha, please can you talk to my wife? Please can you talk to my husband? Please can you talk to my child? Help him. I'm trying to get him on this journey also. One reason is because you care about them, and that's fair dues. Good. You care about them. But the other is because you know that this is the person I spend a lot of my time with. Either he's going to become more like you, or she's going to become more like you, or what's worse is you're going to become more like them. So you need to set yourself this insurance. So even if the people at home are people who have no interest in doing merits, people who have no interest in doing kusal, then you're in a bad place. And sometimes you can't help it. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. That can be a real dilemma. So, given the opportunity, like Guru Swaminatha always says, come along. If you believe that you can receive noble association in this place, or anywhere in the when you come into the realms of the Mahasangha, then do so. This is why the Buddha created his dispensation. This is why he created the Shasana. Otherwise, think about it, he wouldn't have done it, would he? Yes, Anyone can attain Sotapanna, Sakurdagami, Anagami. You can even become an Arahant as a lay person. But then it begs the question, well, why did then the Buddha create the Shasana? Why did he form the Mahasangha if you could simply do it by being a lay person? The Buddhas don't do things just because. There must have been a reason. Not one reason, plenty of. So he realized, and think about it, right? Devas can't, there is no Shasana in the Deva worlds. You can't become a member of the Sangha in the Deva worlds. Of course, in the four great hells, there's no point in having a Shasana because you can't become even a Sotapanna. But when you go above the human worlds, into the Deva worlds and the Brahma worlds, there's no Shasana. Not because they don't need robes. He could have created the Shasana there, but he didn't. Why? Think about it. It's because particularly as human beings, we need it. The pull that you get from being in that moral association, in that noble association, is absolutely essential. As a Deva, most of the time, the things that you want, the necessities, the basic requirements, you receive them without much labor. But as a human being, these things don't come, they don't grow on trees. In the Deva worlds, actually, they do grow on trees. Money grows on trees in the Deva worlds. But not in the human world. So that's one reason. In order that you can survive. And, the thing is, as human beings, we always have to look after ourselves. This physical body that we have, our existence is dependent on feeding ourselves, giving ourselves shelter, clothing ourselves, and treating ourselves when we are ailed. Right? We need these requisites. What happens is, as a human being, you have to exert yourself to earn these things because you don't get it for nothing. So if you have to exert yourself, then that's going to take away a lot of the time that you have to attain Nibbana. It's going to take away a lot of time. Even in the workplace, you can't simply just go and do your thing and then come home. You have to have those work relationships with your colleagues, go out for a drink every once in a while. I didn't say alcohol, by the way. Otherwise you might say, hey, he's condoning. I used to go out for a drink once in a while with my colleagues. I kept myself to Coke. No, not the type you sniff. But yeah, you can't help it. You need it. Because otherwise you don't get along with those people. And if you don't get along, then you're not going to last very long. Do you not find yourselves in these situations? Because you have to please them so that they'll be prepared to please you. It's a give and take world, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's the kind of world we live in. What you get, of course you get because of merit, but to reap the fruit of merit, you have to exert yourself. This is the nature of the human world. Whereas in the Deva world, all you have to do is wish for it, and it appears in front of you. In the human world, you don't get anything by wishing. Because our merit is not that powerful. You can still achieve it, but you have to exert yourself. You have to exert your body. You have to work for it. The farmer has to sow before he can reap. Reaping crop is the result of merit, of course. But for that, he has to sow first. Otherwise, you don't get it. That is the nature of the human world. So you have to exert yourself constantly in order to simply survive, nothing else. All the meals you've eaten so far, and all the meals you'll be eating until until your last meal, your last supper, right? All those meals put together. What is the end result? Other than keeping you alive? Has it done anything else? All it's done is kept you alive. What matters is not that you are alive. What matters is what you do while you're alive. Eating only keeps you alive. Doing a job earns you the money so you can eat, so you can stay alive. Sleeping only keeps you alive because you need rest. Medication only keeps you alive. Finding shelter keeps you alive. In fact, if you think about it, 90% of the things you do in your life is simply so you can be alive. Why do you have to get along with your neighbors? What's the ultimate result? So you can be alive. Why? Because what if something's going on? At least if you know the devil, it's better than not knowing the devil. At least you can protect you. Okay, this guy, I need to watch myself. And this is the assessment you do when you go and talk to your neighbors. Later on you might start exchanging cakes. But first, it's about, I need to know, is he a threat to me? So that initial instinct kicks in, so you can protect yourself simply to be alive. What matters is, why do you want to stay alive? Being alive, anyone can do. Dogs can be alive, stay alive. Cows and sheep and birds and beasts, they can all stay alive. And they're all alive right now. So we can all be alive. That's not the important thing. It's what you do while you're alive. That's the important thing. Birds and beasts and cows and all these animals, they can't decide what to do while they're alive, because it's just instinct that drives them. Their purpose of existence is simply to eat, sleep, reproduce, and then repeat until death. While alive, do these things. You will write a computer program. While, open braces, close braces, in the middle, eat, sleep, reproduce. Loop. So simply all those things you are doing in the middle is to keep alive, be alive. And if the reason that we spend our time alive is simply to stay alive, what a shame that is. We are human beings. We have intellect. We can choose the course of our lives. Because at the end of this life, I'll tell you, you'll get another life. You will. Don't worry. You will. And what are you going to do in that life? Again, do what you need to do to stay alive. All this life, what we did was staying alive. And then, at one day comes along and then you're no longer alive. But then the next moment, you're alive again. And then from that point forward, again, all the things you're doing is to stay alive. So when you ask someone, what have you done in your life? The answer is going to be, I've stayed alive. So you've been alive for 65 years. What have you been doing in your life? I've stayed alive. Well done. That has become the purpose of human existence. Staying alive. Animals can do that just as well as we can. Actually, they don't have to work so hard. Because the reality is, the basic necessities to stay alive, you get with very little exertion. Look at me. The basic requirements to stay alive, I don't have to work for it. I get it for free. Yes, merits of previous good deeds, all that, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I get that. But so do you all. Think about why the Buddha created the Shasana. Because he wanted to give us all purpose. Because he asked the question, what are you doing alive? And the answer that came from a lot of people was, just doing what we need to stay alive. He said, okay, let me create the Shasana. Now you no longer need to do things to stay alive. The things you need to stay alive, I'll give you for free. Now what is your purpose in life? so He gives you new meaning. He gives you purpose. It would be unfair for me to expect all of you to be able to come and ordain, and that's not my point, right? My point is, ask yourselves, of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, how much of these things that I'm doing are simply things to keep me alive, versus the things that I really need to be doing while I'm alive, so that I don't have to, at the end of this journey, start another journey, start another life, and then again just do things to stay alive. Because if we all of us, you and I included, all of us, if we don't put an end to this, in the next birth, again, we'll get a life so that we can do the things we need to. Come on? Stay alive. So the purpose of life is staying alive. That's the real pity. Because you don't need to be born in a sugati to do that. You don't have to be born in the blissful plane to be able to do that. Even in the avidya, you are still alive. The lowest apai that you can imagine, they're still alive. Because vipaka from previous karmas will keep you alive. This you can take at a macro level or a micro level. Think about the arising and passing away of a chitta. Even that happens as a vipaka. You don't have to do anything to stay alive. You don't have to do abhisankara. When a chitta passes away, another world will be born, don't worry. Another one will arise. Why? Vipaka, from previous karma. But we're not happy with that. What we want to do is give rise to another chitta, purposefully, forcefully, deliberately, intentionally, volitionally. So we do the abhisankara so that another chitta arises. But what if we didn't? What happens then? Well, another one will arise anyway. Because of the vipaka of previous karma. So we don't have to do anything for that. It will just happen. The problem is, we can't just let it happen. We want to be doers. We are not happy with let it being done to us. We want to do something. I always want to do something. We're not happy with letting it being done to us, because we're not prepared for that yet. The day you become an arahant, now you're no longer wanting to do things. You're okay. You're just simply waiting for whatever to be done to you. You're okay with that. Because, do you like it black or white? Well, if you like it black, then you have to do something to get black. If you like white, then you have to do something to get white. Because what if it's the other one that comes your way? You like white, black comes along. No? That's not okay, because I like white. So you have to do something. What if either was okay? Now, just wait. It will be done to you. And, let's not worry. Well, what if something I don't like? What if what's happening to me is not right? No, it's always right. You just don't see it that way. Because what you get is always what you desire. Desire? No. What you get is always what you deserve. Not what you desire. What you get is what you deserve. What you struggle for is what you desire. What you exert yourself for is what you desire. All this abhisankara is so that you're trying to get what you desire. But ultimately you only get what you deserve. Even when you do abhisankara, you're now doing the karma. You will get the vipaka because you deserve it, having done the karma. So again, you're not getting because you desire it. You're getting because you deserve it. Whether that's the karma done in the most immediate moment prior to it, or many eons before. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, all you're getting is what you deserve. This is why we have to practice upeksha. To accept whatever comes my way. The only thing you should not be okay with is raga, dvesha, moha. Anything else, train yourself, practice the path so you can come to the point where you are okay with whatever. That is true upeksha. Whatever will be, will be. Whatever happens, I'm okay. Until you are desirous about something, or someone, or some kind of circumstance, you are not free to say whatever. Now you pick and choose. And with that comes abhisankara. And with abhisankara, simply nothing other than means to an end. Because after all that abhisankara is doing is taking you one step closer to death. And really, putting you back into the cycle of samsara. You know, have you heard the expression, you have to be in it to win it? It's like the lottery. To win the lottery, you have to first, of course, buy yourself a ticket. To be in samsara, the only thing you have to do is do an abhisankara. You've just bought yourself a ticket. Keep doing abhisankara, you're buying yourself tickets to win the lottery of samsara. Every time you buy a ticket, you have earned yourself another slot in samsara. That baggage belt that Guru Hamdru talks about, you just extended that by another mile, another kilometer, another several meters. Every ticket you buy. We must really reflect and understand on the futility of engaging in abhisankara. Do merit, of course, but remember the purpose of merit. Remember why you're doing merit. It's not because merits are a good thing to do. I really understand that. It's a really important point to understand. Don't do merit because it's a nice thing to do. Did you get that? Don't do merit because it's nice to do merit. That's not why you should be doing merit. You should be doing merit because through the power of the merits that you acquire, you are determined that may this have to be the last time I have to do this. Remember, like when we observe the precepts at the beginning of a sermon, I always remind you, this is a privilege, not a right. We are having to observe the precepts because we may have done things, said things, thought about things which, as a result of which, we were not able to abide by the precepts. The vows that we took were broken. So it's shameful really that we always have to observe precepts. As high ordained monks, we do what we call a Avaddasima, or confessions. So every night, high ordained monks at our monastery, not that it has to happen every night, but this is how we do it at our monastery. Our Upasampada Bhikshun Mahanses, the high ordained monks, we do this thing called Avaddasima. So we confess what wrong things we've done through the day with another high ordained monk. And we cleanse ourselves, we cleanse our minds. This thing happened. That thing happened. I thought about this thing in Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So this is again something that the Buddha gave us. A gift. Because when you do this, you're reflecting on the fact that I'm having to do this because I am still subject to Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Or why do I have to do this again? Why did I do this avat? Why did I have to? Because my mind is still contaminated with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. The Buddha talks of Raga Vinaya, Dvesha Vinaya, Moha Vinaya. Disciplining one's mind to rid the mind of Raga, Dvesha, Moha. These are another 227 rules in the Vinaya book. The Vinaya that the Buddha talks about. Of course, there is the conventional rules, but he also talks about Raga Vinaya, Dvesha Vinaya, Moha Vinaya. Training the mind, disciplining the mind so that you can rid your mind of Raga, Dvesha, Moha, desire, aversion and delusion. The reason, think about it, the reason that the majority of the 227 precepts that he laid out for the bhikkhus was because after the first 20 years of his dispensation, the bhikkhus who came to ordain, or the people who came to ordain, were not those who were able to achieve the state of arahathood immediately. So they were wearing robes, conducting themselves, but their minds defiled with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So of course, there was room for error, there was room for mistakes to happen. This is why the precepts had to be laid out. This is why in the first 20 years, that was not necessary. Each precept, if you look at it, the Buddha lays out only when the need for it arises. It's like how the law system works. A new law is stipulated when there's a need for it. Sometimes, if there are no, what's the word they say? If there's not a similar incident or a similar event that's happened in previously, I can't remember the word for it, then there is no example of that. And in those cases, there is no law as to how you handle that situation. So you have to wait for something like that to happen. This is how the Buddha lays out his code of conduct as well for his bhikkhus. But all that because still raga, dvesha, moha was in the minds of these men and women who came into the Shasana. So do merit, do as much merit as you can. The 10 meritorious deeds we've talked about in the past, right? Giving, charity. And charity, how much money does charity cost? How much? You can do it for free. Help someone. Someone's feeling distraught. Talk to them. Help them make their mind up. Encourage someone to do another meritorious deed. It may be you don't have the means to do it, but someone else does. Well, encourage them to do it. And you rejoice in the merits. That's a meritorious deed again. Rejoicing in merits is also a meritorious deed. You buy one, get one, free. The Buddha introduced Bhogov. Whatever precepts you have vowed to abide by, be true to yourself and abide by them. Because virtue is also another meritorious deed. But remember, a cow is also virtuous. In the material sense of the word virtue. Because a cow does not kill, does not steal, does not engage in sexual or sensual misconduct. Well, I don't know about sensual, but certainly not sexual misconduct. A cow does not lie, cow does no backstabbing, does not engage in frivolous speech. Ever heard a cow engage in frivolous speech? No. Right? So, that's not virtue. Because virtue doesn't happen automatically. Virtue is something that you have to do. This is refraining. So you have the opportunity to do bad, but you refrain. You abstain from it. When there's plenty of opportunity to engage in sexual misconduct, you say, no, it's not right for me to do it, so I won't do it. Because now when you're doing that, you're practicing on the inside. On the inside, you're yearning for it. You want to do it. You really, really want to do it. But the stronger you fight, the stronger your wisdom becomes. The stronger your willpower becomes. This is why I said at the beginning, you need good vision and willpower. Willpower is something you have to practice. It's not automatic. Don't think, oh, I have got no willpower. It'll come someday. I'm going to do it now anyway. Don't fall for that. Because if you fail at this obstacle, guess where you're going to fail again next time you run the same race? There. Remember, this is an obstacle race. And each obstacle is higher than the previous one. So if you're failing at this one now, you're absolutely going to fail next time also. So you have to practice. This is really solid advice. I hope you're all paying attention. If you find that you're always failing at one point, right, in your virtue, right? Think about you observe the 5 precepts, yeah? I'll take a really simple one like lying. Okay? Let's say you always find yourself lying because you can't bring yourself to say the truth. And you say, well, one day I'm not going to want to lie, so that day I'm not going to lie. Today I'm just going to lie and just, get about. No. Because you have to practice. If you're trying to ride a bike, and you're falling, there ain't going to be a day where you're going to be able to ride the bike and then you ride the bike. That's not how it happens. Even while you're falling, you still have to get back on it and ride. It's only then the day is going to come when you're not going to fall again. Because it's through practice it becomes perfect. Not by being a bystander and waiting for it to happen. Virtue doesn't get served out on a plate. This is practice. Samma vayama. In practicing, if you abide by the 5 precepts, I tell you, you are fulfilling the Noble Eightfold Path. Don't undermine the 5 precepts. Don't think, oh, it's just the 5. Just 5. Swaminvasis have to abide by 227. Now that one's a good one. 5? Just 5. If you are serious about Nibbana, all the virtue that you need to practice is entailed within the 5. Provided you've come to Sammaditthi, because that you can't do by observing precepts. If you've come to Sammaditthi, if you have become a Sotapanna, the rest of the Noble Eightfold Path you will be able to fulfill if you genuinely and honestly obey the 5 precepts. It's not much to ask for. 5. 5. Not 10. 5. Because, once a monk asked the Buddha, what's the easiest way to attain Nibbana? He says, practice the 37 factors of enlightenment. 37, my God, that's a lot. What's the easiest way to do that? So he keeps giving answers to these questions, and ultimately he stops at Trivida Sucharite. Be pure in your thoughts, actions and words. And the 5 precepts will help you do that. Killing. Taking away the life of another. Remember, it's not just physical life we are talking about here. Someone's character. You can kill someone's character. Not by using a weapon. Well, yes, using a weapon, but your speech can be the weapon there. By backstabbing, slander, spreading rumors about people. Think about some of the things that maybe you have done or other people that you know have done. Spreading rumors about people. What a really evil thing to do that is. Spreading rumors about people. Whether that is right or wrong, whether what you're saying is accurate or not, does not matter. If you're saying it with the intention to spread a rumor about that person so that people fall in disfavor of that person, that's a bad thing to do. That's a really, really evil thing to do. Not just a bad thing, it's an evil thing to do. Killing does not simply entail taking a weapon and chopping someone's head off. Because an arahant is someone who has dropped all weapons. All weapons. What's mightier than the sword? What's mightier than the sword? The tongue is mightier than the sword. You'll have learned such expressions in school and so on. The tongue is mightier than the sword. For those of you who will have read the board as you walk up these stairs, what does it say? Do you remember? The tongue is like a sharp knife. It kills without drawing blood. How true. These are the Buddha's sayings. The tongue is like a sharp knife, it kills without drawing blood. How true. When you're shedding blood, you can see that you're hurting someone. But sometimes, if no blood is being shed, people watching don't even know that this person is being killed. But you are killing them. That is also part of pranagata. Because you are destroying their character. You're using speech intentionally to destroy their character, to hurt them. Absolutely. Because that's where it all has to start. Cleansing your thoughts. But the point I'm trying to make is, don't wait until your thoughts have been cleansed. Today you feel like lying. You know it's wrong, but you feel like doing it anyway. Don't wait for the day where you're not going to feel to do it. You're not going to want to do it, to not do it. Don't do it. Because what you're doing is wrong. And the consequences are going to come your way whether you accept that as being wrong or not, and whether you can control yourself or not. It's a bit like this. Imagine there's a road, and there are cars coming at some rate, and there's a bifurcation, so this road splits in two. You can go left or you can go right. The road to the left takes you to a fixed destination. The road to the right, what it does, it actually loops around. It's like when you take an exit on the motorway, or if you miss your exit, or on the motorway, the highway, whatever. When you miss your exit, what you have to do is take the next one. And then you go back around on yourself, and then come back and join the motorway and take the right exit. Right? That's what you have to do. Likewise, when you are in moha, which is pelima or vexation, this traffic keeps coming and it keeps building up. This vexation keeps building up. You can go one of two routes. Either you take the right route, which takes you to rid yourself of vexation by ridding attachment. Extinguish, remove attachment, and then you have redeemed yourself of vexation. Or the other path is relief from vexation. But what we don't see is this road loops back on itself. So if you take this road, this exit, this turn, all that's going to happen is you're going to come back and join the same road. You're back in traffic. Has that never happened to you? Take the wrong exit and you come back and you're back where you started. You are better off not having taken that exit in the first place. Happened to me plenty of times. Now I'll take this road. It's going to get me where I want. You drive, and before you know it, you're back again at the beginning, at the start of the queue. Why did I do that? That's what relief from vexation is like. I'll remind you of that also. If you keep coming back to the same place, but remember, in that example of the car where you've joined traffic and you now to get out of the traffic, you've taken this detour, but ultimately it just loops back on itself. You're still consuming petrol. Your tires are wearing off. You're spending energy and time and money and all these things only to come back where you started. So what's the point? You're better off just parking and waiting for the other road to become available. Because taking the other route, all you're doing is just whiling away the hours. You're just whiling away time. Not really getting anywhere. That's what relief from vexation is like. So when the Buddha says practice patience, there are two facets to this. One kind of patience is where train yourself like an army soldier does. Some physical needs you can handle, you can deal with by practicing patience. So for example, when you come along to meditation programs, it's going to be very difficult for you to get into any sort of samadhi if when you feel a little tinge somewhere, you start scratching yourself and rubbing your nose and rubbing your forehead and adjusting yourself. You have to keep doing that all the time. There's not going to be any end to it. Because when you've fixed one, something else is going to start in the next moment. There's always alarm bells going on all over this body. So when you fixed one, it's like herding sheep. One's in, next one's out. Right? So you have to practice patience there also. In the Salleka Sutra, the Buddha talks about practicing patience. Sorry, not Salleka Sutra, it's the it'll come to me in a moment. He talks about it's not simply through the reflecting of the Dhamma that you have to fight these defilements. There are some you have to do with patience, by practicing patience. So for instance, if you can practice things like, if you're feeling a little bit hungry, doesn't mean you have to now go and feed yourself every time you feel hunger. Because if you can't practice patience in simple things like I'm feeling a little bit hungry, if you don't have patience in simple things like that, what patience are you going to have when Tanha, Rati and Raga come in front of you? What patience are you going to have when Mara's army is going to come in front of you? So if you start to feel an itch somewhere, if you're doing meditation, you have to be able to be patient. Because otherwise you're not going to be able to get into any sort of samadhi. That's not to say, if it's burning somewhere, if it's a real itch somewhere, then, of course, relieve yourself, that's okay. But if you have to keep doing it all the time, you're not going to get anywhere. Because constantly your mind is now switching from your meditation object to, staying alive. That's what it is ultimately. But there's another type of being patient. And that is, for as long as you have Raga, Dvesha, Moha, you're going to experience these vexations. And when vexation comes in, as we talk about constantly, we have to do one of two things. You either have to relieve, or you have to redeem. So in the example of the ball, if someone throws a hot ball at you, this is a really hot ball, you either have to throw it up, or you have to drop it. One of these two things has to happen, because we're not strong enough to keep holding on to that ball. We don't have the patience to keep holding on to it. So what we do is we do abhisankara, throw the ball up. But you can be guaranteed that a moment later, it's going to come back into your hands. It's going to come back to you. And then you have to throw it back up again. So this is constantly abhisankara. You're back where you started. It's like taking that loop, taking the detour, you're back where you started. The better option is drop it. But what happens is when someone's in vexation and they can't bear that vexation, this is also part of patience. If you can't tolerate that moha, that vexation, chances are the things you're going to do to relieve yourself from vexation are unmeritorious deeds. 90% of the time, what you're going to do to relieve yourself from vexation is going to be an unmeritorious deed. Either taking life, stealing, sexual misconduct, or sensual misconduct, lying, backstabbing, frivolous speech, whatever. Lobha, dosa, moha, ultimately. Now, to relieve yourself from vexation, what you've actually committed is something that is a sin. And now when that comes back, now it's going to come back to bite you. That's going to be much more painful, much more intolerable than the vexation you're in right now. Because really, if you had enough merit, you wouldn't have to be in vexation, because you'd be relieved of that vexation immediately. Why? Why do we go into vexation? Attachment, yes, but because you don't have the five you want. The Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana which you desire, you don't have it. This is why you're in vexation. If you had earned enough merit, then the Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana that you want would come in immediately and relieve you from that vexation. This is what merit is all about. Merit can help you attain Nibbana, or it can make life easy. What does it mean to make life easy? How does life become difficult? When you don't get what you want. So if that's making life difficult, then making life easy is getting what you want. Ultimately, what is it that we all want? Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. There's nothing else we want. I'm not talking about Nibbana. I'm talking about living life and living it the easy way. So what merits does is bring Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana that you want when you want it. So, when we talk about the Paranimita Vasavarti, where all you have to do is wish for something and it's there in front of you, what is that? Ultimately, it's the mind that's wishing. The moment you wish for it, that Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana comes in because the object that brings you that Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana appears in front of you. So that is reward for merits you've done in the past. So remember, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, they only arise as a vipaka. When you don't get the 5 you want, that's because you haven't done the merit that you need. You haven't done the karma that you need to receive it. Because you only get what you deserve, not what you desire. Otherwise, how many times have people tried to achieve something but not have achieved it? If you get what you desire, well, we should all be millionaires by now. We should all be billionaires by now. None of us should be growing old by now. If you get what we deserve, or desire rather. Who here likes to grow old? Nobody. Have you never found yourself in a situation where you needed that extra bit of money but couldn't find it? You had to ask from someone. You had to get a loan, whatever. Well, if you get what you desire, you would never have found yourself in that situation. A lot of successful people, they started out very poorly. They started out difficult lives, but then they struggled. They fought for it. So what they're doing is, they're doing the karma so that they eventually get what they deserve, not what they desire. Because they realize, sitting on my backside, I'm never going to get what I desire. Therefore, I'm going to do what I need to do to deserve it. Then they start to take action. As a result of that action, now you get what you deserve, not what you desire. So, when you throw the ball up, what you're trying to do is relieve yourself from vexation. But you can practice patience. So when you feel you're vexing for something, absolutely try and redeem yourself from that vexation by reflecting on the Dhamma. But here's what I'm proposing to you. If what you're now about to do to relieve yourself from vexation is an unmeritorious deed, this is a time to practice patience. If what you're feeling like doing right now to relieve yourself from vexation because you can't rid yourself of attachment, because you just don't have the peace of mind to reflect on the Dhamma, you're trying but you can't do it. Practice patience. Be patient. Be patient while you're laying out the road of redemption. The road to relief from vexation, we've travelled many times. So you could drive that road blindfolded. Yes or no? The road to relief from vexation, you can go blindfolded and backwards. Because we've done it infinite number of times now. But there's one thing we have done very little of, and that is to reflect and walk the path of redemption by reflecting on the Dhamma and ridding the attachment to whatever it is that we are vexing for. That's the new road. It's a road we haven't traversed many times before. Therefore, it's going to be new. It's a new experience, so you haven't got a lot of practice doing it. While you're still working your way through that road, practice patience. Because if you can't practice patience, if you can't be patient at that time, you can't wait for this road to open, you're going to take the other road. And that road is going to be relief from vexation. And chances are, what you're going to be doing is something that's unmeritorious, which is only going to bring you back into the same queue. And then much further back. Right? You can do lots of things. If you really feel like lying about something, you really want to lie, right, and you want to be patient. So you're not trying redemption because you simply don't have the power, you don't have the willpower yet to try redemption. Try willpower with patience. So what can you do? If you want to lie, keep quiet. Go do something else. Change the subject. Talk about something else. Just don't lie. Because if you lie, yes, of course, you have been relieved from vexation. But what you have done to relieve yourself from vexation is going to bring you back with a much bigger vexation. Because what you've just done is an unmeritorious deed. And that's very dangerous. Because when you relieve yourself from vexation, what happens is you get the 5 you want. You get the 5 you want. So this is what relief from vexation is all about. You get the 5 that you desire. It came to you not because you desired it, because you deserved it. But what happens now is you receive this. Your next course of action is going to be kamma vipaka vattanti. The vipaka came your way, but now you do another karma. As a result of the karma, you just bought another ticket, which puts you back on samsara. Which put you back in samsara. So when the vipakas come, be that favorable or unfavorable, we must practice patience. Someone might come and praise you. Another opportunity to practice patience. Patience must not only be practiced when circumstances are unfavorable. Someone praises you, time to practice patience. Otherwise, what happens if you can't be patient when someone praises you? You fall head over heels. You take it personally. Oh, it's me they're praising. Remember, there are no good people or bad people. People do good things and bad things. But people don't know what they're praising is the good deed. They think that they're praising the person. It's not the person that is being praised. Because ultimately, where is a person to praise? When there is no such thing as a self, well, where is the self to praise? We praise the Buddha. Where is the Buddha to praise? If you think about it in a very profound sense, right, there is no self to praise. When we praise the Buddha, what we are really praising are the things that he did. The thoughts, the speech, it's the 3 things. Thoughts, actions and words. Which brought us all a great gift. Which brought us all redemption. Or the path to redemption. This is what we praise when we talk about the Buddha. This is why the Buddha says, to see me is not see my physical self. Is to see the Dhamma. This is what the Buddha says. To see me, you have to see the Dhamma. It's only through the Dhamma you begin to understand who the Buddha is. So what is the Dhamma ultimately then? It's what he said. It's what he thought about. It's how he showed that in action. That is what we have to be grateful for. Had the Buddha not given us the Dhamma, had the Buddha not discovered the Dhamma, it's just another person. We wouldn't be singing praises about him today. So remember, there are no good people or bad people. There are people. People do good things and people do bad things. Like all of us. But society will say you are a good person when you are doing a good thing. People will say you are a bad person when you are doing a bad thing. That's all it is. It's a good thing you've done, it's a bad thing you've done. You are neither good nor bad. Do you remember the video which we watched last week? The one you all thoroughly enjoyed? I'm going to show it to you again. This time, I want you to take a moment to analyze it. Really reflect on it. Because now you know what to expect. Last week you didn't. But I think there's a lot you can learn from it. This is why I thought you ought to watch this again a second time. Remember what we did last time with the experiment. Were there any of you who weren't here last week? Okay. What do you think we should do? Should we give them the same treatment? And you thought they were your friends. So do you all remember what I told you at the start before I showed you the video? Did I lie to you? No, because it's wrong to lie, right? I've just told you it's wrong to lie and I can't be lying. So I told you it's a very rare video and it shows you how people vex. Yeah? And of course it's very rare. You know that by now. You can't find this video anywhere else. Well, I don't know. It's going to be really hard if you try to. And it's going to show you the human nature of suffering and vexation. So if you pay attention to this video, you will learn about why humans vex and how attachment causes vexation. So let's watch the video one more time. For those of you who have, of course, seen it the first time, I really want you to, now knowing how your minds worked the last time, do an evaluation. Think about how did I respond to this the first time I saw it. Think about the things I said at the beginning. And if you heard Stephen Hawking as well, so this world famous scientist who gave his opinion, his views on some of the things, yeah? Why are you all laughing about it? Did you not hear Stephen Hawking? Yes. A world famous, renowned scientist, he was giving his view on certain aspects of how this world works and vexation, maybe things like that. And so, last time round, you listen to what I said, like our first timers today, listen to what I said. Based on what I said, you of course set some expectations on what you wanted to see, and then you watched it. And then you complained. So, I want to spend a little bit more time analyzing what happened last week. But before that, let's watch it a second time. Is it possible to stream this onto the sermon YouTube? We are going to take time? It's alright. We are going to take time? It's alright. Right, so let me explain to those who have only seen this for the first time. So this was an experiment to show you how much the mind is vexing. All that audio setup, HDMI, blah, 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 that was all part of the video. So that he wasn't having any trouble there setting up any of the equipment. That was real. That was part of the video. There was video footage. So what we had done there is actually produced a video including scenes to give you the impression or the illusion that there was a problem with the configuration, with the setup of the audio-video equipment. So when you're watching the video, in your mind you're vexing because you want to watch the video. You don't want to watch any of the blue screens or the audio setup, video setup. You don't want to watch any of that stuff. So when that's happening inside, internally, you're going through vexation. And the reason for that is because at the start of the video, what I did was I told you, I've got this video, it's a very rare video. You're going to get to hear Stephen Hawking talk. You're going to hear about how, or you're going to understand how the human mind gets into vexation. And as I said, I didn't lie to you about any of these things. Did you not understand how the human mind vexes? Was it not through a human mind you were vexing as you were watching it? Yeah, so you understood it firsthand. The only thing is, you expected to see something in the video that talks about vexation and how Stephen Hawking was going to explain to you the phenomena behind it and all that stuff, but that's not what you actually got. So you didn't get what you expected. So let's just talk a little bit more about what was really going on there, because this was a real eye-opener for some of you, and I think for some of you it was a really good example, personally and first-hand, to experience how much the mind vexes. Let's take a real simple example where you saw a blue screen with just some white letters on the bottom left, where it said HDMI setup, auto scanning or something like that. Ultimately, all the mind can consume is Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, right? So when you were watching that video, isn't that Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana also that's coming in at that point? Whether you are watching actual footage or whether it's just a blue screen, ultimately that's all simply Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So there's no difference. But why is it then that you're not happy with what you're getting right now? Because you are attached to something else. Mentally, you have a different set. You have two sets. There's one set, this is the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana I like to see. Then there's the other set, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Anything that doesn't fit in the like to see set, by default falls into the don't like to see set. That's by default. You don't have to push anything in there. It happens by default. If you like something, there's always going to be something you don't like. So really, you don't have to intentionally dislike something. All you have to do is like something. If you like something, the opposite of that, by default, naturally, automatically, you dislike. Which is? No, there isn't actually. There isn't kind of middle, I neither like it nor dislike it. Because for as long as there's some kind of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana that we like, we're always seeking that. Because if you like something, you always want it. You're desiring. Therefore, you're always seeking it. Something, when we experience moha, this is the state that you're talking about. When we experience moha, that's where we haven't yet been able to determine which set this falls into. Does it go in this or does it go in that? So what we want to do is at that point we make a decision. Do I put into this set or not? If you put into the like set, then from that point forward you like to see this. Actually the only things that would fall into neither set are the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana that you haven't experienced yet. If there's a certain Rupa that you've not seen yet, that's in neither set. You haven't seen it yet. You don't know about it yet. If you know about a certain type of Rupa, the opposite of that will always go into the set that you don't like, you dislike. When you get to see a Rupa for the first time, a sight, or a smell or something. Let's take a smell for instance. There's a kind of smell that you really like. Let's say roses. You like rose smell, the smell of roses. The moment you smell it, because you like it, of course that falls into the like set. If you don't like the smell of jasmine, it's because you like the smell of roses. So when jasmine comes along, you are expecting something you like. We always expect things we like. Always. If someone's knocking on the door at home, or you're at home, someone's knocking on the door, you always like to greet someone, you always like to meet someone or see someone that you like to see. This is why you open the door. You open the door with the expectation that this is someone you like. If it's someone that you don't like, well, of course, that's because you like the opposite. But if it's someone that you really don't know, you can't gauge, is this someone I like or don't like? This is that moha stage. So you have that conversation, and then what you're trying to do is trying to fit this person into one of the two boxes. Do I like this guy or do I not like this guy? Middle ground, we're not comfortable. You don't like middle ground. Has to fit into one or the other. That's at a macro level. If you take it to a micro level about Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, if there is anything you like, the opposite of that you don't like at all. All the other things fall into the dislike group. The things you like group and the things you don't like group. This is all there is. There really is no middle ground. When you go to the most basic level of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, the reason for that is because you're always yearning for what you like. Always expecting what you like. So if something comes along, a kind of Rupa that you don't like, or that is not in the like set, because it's not in the like set, now you're in vexation. You have a choice now. You either have a choice to like this, but for that you need a drushti to come in from the outside, or one that is self-developed based on a drushti you already have. You either start to like this, and then by doing so you put it into the like group, or if it doesn't fit there, then it goes into the other. But during that while, it's in this moha stage. Question? Big answer? Upeksha. So upeksha is that moha stage. So, when the Buddha says, the upeksha that we talk about, not the upeksha tarupeksha, the upeksha that we talk about in the worldly sense is really pelima. This is really vexation. Where you can't put it into either one of these two boxes. It's that stage of checking. It's this vetting stage. Does it go in this or does it go in that? What we want to see is all that's in the like stage, in the like state or in the like set. And during this while where you are yet to determine, is this something I like or not? You're in that upeksha state. But, so for instance, when you saw the blue screen, you didn't give up. But when you saw the end, now you gave up. You're not going to be able to see it again. That's it. But during the blue screen where, it's coming and going, during the blue screen you're in that upeksha state. It's going to come again, it's going to come again. But you don't like to see the blue screen, of course. That's why I say, it's actually in the dislike box, because no one sat down here to watch the blue screen. You sat down to watch the video. Right? You sat down to watch the video. That's what you prepared yourself for. When the blue screen came up, it took away from you the opportunity to see the video that you were expecting to see. So you like to watch the video. There's the 5 that you like to see. Compared to that, the blue screen is something that you don't like to see. But for as long as the blue screen's on there, you still have hope that what you like to see is going to come up any moment now. Identifying whether you like it or not. Yeah, so if there's a certain sensation that you do like, Right? Then there's always going to be the sensation that you don't like. So if you're sat down for meditation, you start hearing noises in the environment, in the background, right? You're going to say that's distracting. Because while you're meditating, let's imagine I'm saying something and that's helping you with your meditation. That's also a noise. The only difference is that is the noise that you like to hear, that you're wanting to hear, you're expecting to hear. Therefore, that comes as Tapa Vedana. That gives you happy, pleasurable sensations. Again, all because of what you are attached to, based on your view. But it might be that really, what you need now is to contemplate on the sound of the crickets. And this is what will help you to attain your Nibbana, but you don't know that. It may simply be that what you need to contemplate now is the sound that you're hearing from the crickets that are on the outside, and reflecting on that as being anicca, dukkha and anatta. But you don't know that. Because you don't know that, we're in a position where we don't know what's good for us. So what happens then is, based on our personal view on what we think is good, we attach ourselves to certain things, and other things we detest. So the two boxes that we always try to fit things into. What's not in either of these two boxes are things that we don't know yet, that haven't come into our world yet. As soon as it comes in, it goes into one or the other. And they are always opposites of each other. As soon as it comes in. So for example, let's say you go on holiday somewhere and you go to a restaurant. Now, you will find lots of items on the menu that you've never tried before, you've never even heard of. You go, I'll try that today, number 25. And the waiter goes and brings number 25. Now you don't know what to expect because you don't know what that is. You ask, you can't read the language, you ask, what is it? And it says, it's fried duck. What is that? How does that taste? No idea. Wait, I'll bring it. So now you don't know. During this time, you're in upeksha. But there is a taste that you do like. There will be lots of tastes that you are attached to. The taste that you have put into the like box. And similarly, there will be tastes that you have put into the don't like box, which will be the opposites of the like ones. Now, as soon as the dish comes along, you don't like to be in this state of vexation, because now you want to know, which box can I put this into? Is this something I like? You don't want to wait for it. Given the chance, you would try every item on the menu. Given the chance, you would try every item on the menu, so you can quickly put things into these boxes. But you can't, because that's not how the world works. The world works by keeping you in vexation and then relieving you from vexation. If you went the first day and they gave you everything on the menu, now you can't be put into vexation the next time round. This game of guessing, this guessing game, keeping you guessing, keeping you waiting for it, that's the way the world works. Keeping you waiting for something. So, now the dish comes along, you try it out. And you are now able to determine whether this is something you like or something you don't like. Let's say you didn't know that duck was a bird. You didn't know it was an animal. You thought it came from some kind of tree or something. Right? And you're a vegetarian. You didn't know that duck was a bird. You say, oh, it's nice. It's really nice. Which tree do you get this from? Say, they don't grow on trees. They eat trees. Oh, you mean this is an animal? Yep. I don't like it anymore. Some people might even start throwing up. Bring that dish the second time, it has moved from the like box to the dislike box. Based on drishti. So ultimately, it wasn't the taste that determined which box it was going into. It was your view on, is this a taste that I find pleasurable, or is this a taste that I find unpleasurable? Again, all based on views. Because out there are no pleasurable or unpleasurable tastes. Did you all not learn to like Marmite? We learned to like Marmite. You learned to like it. Some young children, they don't like it. Like when I was a young child, I hated Mallu. There was no way my mother could feed me that. I absolutely hated it. But now feed me as much as you like. I mean, not because I'm a monk, but even as a lay person, I grew to like it. Why? Because they told me, this is really good for you, Buddha. It helps your digestive system, it has all the nutriments you need, vitamins and minerals. Ooh, now I like it. Previously I just thought it was bitter, it was yucky, didn't like it. But I learned to like it. How did I learn to like it? The taste hasn't changed. All because of view. Drishya. It was the drishya that changed. So going back to the video then. The point I wanted to make to you is that blue screen is also ultimately a sight that came in through your eyes. And ultimately, all that sight is going to do is leave Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana in your mind. How is that Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara different to the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana you received when you actually saw some footage? Right? There was that short clip where Stephen Hawking was speaking, right? In that short clip, as well as the rest of the video, all that came your way was Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana, nothing else. Stephen Hawking didn't come, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana came. And the nature of all of this, the five aggregates, is to arise and pass away. So, no matter where it comes from, which shape, form, whatever way they come in from, they're ultimately vexatious, because their nature is to arise and pass away. Their nature is being sufferable, because by nature they arise and pass away. And therefore, essenceless. Essenceless why? If you seek pleasure through them, they are not sources of pleasure. This is why we say it's essenceless. They are not sources of pleasure, but why do we like to associate them? Because we take them as being sources of pleasure. We must understand why we say that Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana are essenceless. Not just because. We seek pleasure in them. They don't have pleasure to offer. Therefore it's essenceless. Like the example I've given you in the past, is there any point in going to a barber shop and asking for bread? No, why? Because they don't sell bread there. But what if you wanted a haircut? Well, there's no better place to go than a barber shop if you wanted a haircut. So for that purpose, it's essence-full. It's meaningful. But if you were hungry, there's no point going to a barber shop. For that purpose, it's essenceless. So for the purpose of pleasure, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana are essenceless, because they have no pleasure to offer. Anything else? It's worth asking, because they just might have it. You're hungry. Ultimately you get to eat Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana. Of course, it's food going into your stomach, but you know that your hunger has been quenched or your hunger has been sated, because Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana comes to your mind from your stomach through your brain saying, I now have food. So for that purpose, yes, of course, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana to the rescue. If there's a fire at home, which organ's going to know first? Nose. Typically it's going to be the nose, because you want to smell something, something's burning. Now, is it not Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana that came to your mind at this moment also? And is that not going to save your life? So, essenceless? Meaning essence-full. Of course, it's going to save your life. But for what purpose is the question? If it's pleasure you seek, meaningless. If it's to not put you in danger, to save yourself from dangers, to save yourself from pain, now there's meaning to it. Because if you didn't smell it, then you'd have to wait until you saw it. And if you couldn't see or smell it, now you have to wait until it starts to burn you. That's the only time you're going to know there's a fire there. So, thankfully, you can smell a fire or something burning, smoke even. Thankfully, you can see fire. Again, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vinyana. And also, if you notice throughout the video, there were points at which you could see actual footage, and then the rest of it was just blue screen. So what was happening there is like the mind is of course arising and passing away, right? And in every arising and every passing away, it's Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, that's arising and passing away. When you are actually seeing footage, now you think at that time you are actually experiencing pleasure, right? But then raga should be good. We talk of the trident, the Trishula. If that is the case, then the moments where you are actually able to see Rupa, that should be pleasurable. But no, because that also passes away. So if you were to draw a graph of this video that you saw there, like how they when politicians they give their speeches just before the elections, right? And they give people these handheld voting machines, and the people get to press these buttons, and then it shows on the screen how people's response to their talk, how people feel positive about it or people feel negative about it. And then there are commentators who watch the screen and then they give their comments about it. Or what, he shouldn't have said that because did you see the graph? Everyone's feeling really negative about it. And someone says something that's really enlightening, or someone says something that's really exciting, and then people start pressing the yes button. Now the graph starts going up. So if you were to draw a graph like that, as you were watching that video, those moments where you actually saw pictures in there would be moments of pleasure in your mind. And those moments where there was simply the blue screen would be moments of vexation in your mind. But that's at a macro level. Now if you zoomed in even further into that graph, even those moments where you actually saw pictures, there's still vexation. Why? Because that is also arising and passing away. So even those split moments, those maybe 1 or 2 seconds where you saw actual footage, if you zoomed in on that graph, you would still see arising and passing away, arising and passing away. And you thought that was pleasurable. No. Even within those moments, the mind is still arising and passing away, leaving you vexing. This is why we say raga is also one of the prongs on the trident. Dvesha is also a prong on the trident, and so is moha. While you're waiting there to watch the video, that was moha. Then the video starts, raga. You see the globe that was turning and all that, the video started to show. Then it went to the blue screen. Now moha again. All the way until it went to the end. Now dvesha. I don't know what happened. I didn't get to see the video. Can you play that again, please? Because you don't like that experience. You don't like that feeling. So you want me to play it back this time round, though play it properly. Didn't you not feel that? Can you not play it again so we can watch it properly this time? It's like if there's a power cut, can we watch it properly this time? What does properly mean? Yes, absolutely. As per my expectation of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. It didn't come the way I wanted it. Give it back the way I want it. That's what properly means. But if you did not have any expectation, if you were whatever kind of guy, you could be sat there watching that and be perfectly fine through that whole sequence of events. So tranquil throughout the entire video. No friction, no attachment, no conflict, nothing. Your mind would be so much at peace throughout the video. If you were that kind of person, you wouldn't have to rest in peace. You're in peace. But when you're not that kind of person, they have to put the board up when you're dead to say, now you can rest in peace. What does that say about the person that was living a moment ago? They were at war. Otherwise, why do they say now they can rest in peace? And still, people are so keen and so wanting to be alive, knowing fully well this is war. They still want to be alive. So really 2 important lessons to take away from that video. One, all that you saw on the screen, including the blue screen as well as the other footage, ultimately it's all Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, which is no different to you looking at the screen right now actually. Now there's nothing playing, but again, isn't that simply Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana coming your way? Of course. So Rupa comes your way and then Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana arises within the mind. So that's what happens. So even now, that's what's going on. Because no matter where sights come from, no matter how it comes, it's ultimately Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And the nature of all Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana is to arise and pass away, because they take seat in this vehicle that's called the mind. And the mind comes and the mind goes, arises and passes away. For as long as these 5 are passengers in this car that comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes, they have no other choice but to come and go when the mind comes and goes. So that's the first lesson. If you understand that, then you really understand, you begin to realize, well, what is the point of setting an expectation now? Why do I want to watch a video? There's no point, because what you're seeing right now is just as good. Next time we'll just put the screen up here and say, okay, let's watch that. Are you up for that? How long can you keep staring at that screen? Just try it out when you're at home sometime. Sit in front of a plain wall and just keep staring at it. Maybe do it when nobody else is at home, because otherwise they'll think something's gone wrong. See, we told don't go to listen to those sermons. Look what's happened to this poor guy. He had a sound mind before he went. Now he's just staring at plain walls. What is? Yeah, absolutely. Because because the mind's always going to say these things. When you're watching a movie that you like, now it's not saying let's go have a cup of tea. No, that can wait. Let's watch this till the end. I want to see what's going on till the end. Then sometimes, some things people come and say, you don't even know what's going on around you. You're completely focused on that. That's also samadhi. Mithya samadhi. But looking at a plain white wall, that's very difficult. You can't maintain your composure at that time, because you always want to switch. If you hear the doorbell ring or someone say something, you're quickly going to turn your head because you don't like the 5 that's coming your way right now. You want a different kind of 5, a different set of 5 you want. That's the problem. It's because you want that, you don't like this. If you didn't have I want that, you're okay with this. Attachment is always what causes suffering. Because when you attach yourself to something, you set expectations. Now you can't wait for that expectation to be fulfilled. None of us are ever going to have any peace of mind until attachment and ignorance reigns. Until we have defeated these enemies, none of us are going to have any peace of mind. Because there's always going to be I like and I don't like. I like and I don't like. The problem with I don't like is, of course, you don't like it. Therefore it brings you suffering. What's the problem with I like? One, there is I don't like that has been created as a result of I like. And 2, even when you're looking at the I like, that's still arising and passing away. So there's no peace. There's no rest for the wicked, as they say. Someone who has attachment and ignorance, you're wicked. So there's no rest. So you can't rest in peace until ignorance and attachment has been uprooted once and for all. This is why I said at the start, just imagine what that kind of mentality must be like. The freedom of mind of an arahant. He'd be able to sit down, or he will be able to sit down right there and stare at that screen with no problem. throughout this 3-hour sermon, they'd be able to look at that. No problem. But if we did an experiment right now, how long can you stand staring at that screen? Maybe a minute, at the best. 15 seconds and you'll be like, you might do it. You'll have to force yourself to do it. I'm going to do it. Swami Mahan says, set me a challenge. I can't fail a challenge. I can't belittle myself, so I'm going to keep staring at the screen. But in your mind, you know what's really going on. There's war. All hell has broken loose on the inside. Yes or no? This is why there really is no other answer except for contemplating on the anicca, dukkha, anatta nature of rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana. It's no good saying, well, we don't like this because there's no video here. If there were a video, it will be all good. There's no good saying that. Because now you are saying, well, there is a better world. There's a promised land. Let's all go there and we'll be happy. Whatever land you go to, ultimately, all your mind can consume is rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana. You have all been cursed with a mind that arises and passes away, not to your liking, but as a result of causes. When there are causes, the mind will arise, or conditions. When there are conditions, the mind will arise. When the conditions, for as long as those conditions prevail, the mind will prevail. And when the conditions cease to exist, now the mind will also cease to exist. It will pass away. We have been cursed with a mind that arises and passes away against our liking, or rather, not to our liking. So the first was, ultimately it's all rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana that comes through. So you might as well just be looking at the blank screen. Okay? And the second one was, even when you're looking at something that you do like, so those short clips where there was actually something going on in the video, it would be foolish for us to think, now I found it, now I can enjoy this. Because even when you say, I'm enjoying something, still the mind is also arising and passing away, even in that brief moment. So that was the second point. So really there's nothing out there that you can say is fun. When you're having fun, you're actually crying on the inside. When your body is crying, your mind is crying. When your body is laughing, still your mind is crying. There's not a time when the mind is also laughing and the mind is also enjoying having fun, because there's no time for fun. Those brief moments of ashvada, pleasure, are simply relief from vexation. And the moment all vexation has been removed, now you can no longer be relieved, because there's no vexation to relieve from. Therefore, no source of pleasure. No opportunity for pleasure anymore. If you enjoy paying off your debts, right? And that's a good thing, pay off your debts as soon as you can. What happens when the day comes you are no longer in debt? Can you pay off a debt you don't have? No. So for as long, if you enjoyed paying off your debts, if that was what brought you fun, how can you bring fun anymore to your lives? You have to fall back in debt. Right? You have to get back in debt. So the only way that we can enjoy is fall in debt and then dig ourselves back out of debt. That's mad. For someone to say that's fun? So if you're in good health today, you know where I'm going with this. Yes. If you're in good health today, to be happy about it, first lose your good health. Get back to poor health and then recover from it. Now you enjoy, now you can experience happiness. Because it's always a relief from these negative states that bring us happiness and joy, pleasure. Happiness is that cannot be found in a state. I don't mean United States. State. Right? In one set of circumstances. You can't find happiness like that. It's not in X, it's not in Y. It's in jumping from X to Y. As soon as you have completed your jump, there's no more room for pleasure. It's like as soon as you have paid off your debt, there's no more room for pleasure. Being in debt is not fun. Having paid off your debts is not fun. Paying your debt is what fun is. It's like scratching yourself. Before you have scratched yourself, now it's itching. That's not fun. You have scratched yourself. Now, no longer do you feel the need to scratch. That's not fun either. Fun comes while you're scratching it. That's why pleasure is the outcome of a process. This process has to happen. The scratching is a process. How? Extend your fingers, dig your nails into the rash, and then pull towards you. That's the process. And repeat again, and repeat again. So, for as long as this process is ongoing, you experience pleasure. It's not fun just to be like that. Before the scratch is not fun. After the scratch is not fun. During the process, that's fun. That's why relieving from vexation is a process. And it's only throughout that, during that process, you're going to enjoy pleasure. Not before and not after. So to have fun in life, you have to be crying all the time. No pain, no gain. Yeah? No pain, no gain. So if you want the gain, make sure you get the pain first. Then relieve yourself from the pain. Now you have gain. No pain, no gain. How sad. Let's conclude. The really important thing I wanted to get you to think about, more so than the video, because the video we talked about last week also, but I just wanted to remind you about some of the salient points to capture. Right? Ask yourselves again, what is the purpose of my life? If the answer to it is to do the things that I need to do to stay alive, that is so sad. Purpose of my life is being alive. Why is that sad? You don't have to do anything for that. Even animals go through that. Even they are alive, but they don't have to work, they don't have to study, they don't have to get married, none of these things. But they can still be happy. That is not the purpose of life. The purpose of life has to be doing the things that you need to do so that you don't have to do the things you need to do to stay alive. Let me repeat. The purpose of life has to be to do the things that you have to do today so that you no longer have to do the things you have to do to stay alive. How is that so? Because what are the things that you need to do so that you can achieve that state? This is Kusala Sankara. Abhisankara is all doing things to stay alive, right? Relief from vexation. The moment you stop going through taking that detour of relief from vexation and turn yourself towards redeem from vexation, which is to find the cause, treat the cause, now the result is being treated. That is the redemption from vexation. That is doing Kusala Sankara. When you do the Kusala Sankara, you will no longer have cause to be born again. Jati stops. And when Jati stops, Jara stops, Marana stops, Vyadi stops, all the other things stop. This has to be the purpose of life. Everything else means to an end. Every other path you take is going to loop back and you're going to be back on the motorway. In fact, you're going to be further back than when you took the exit. You're going to be further back because you're going to go all the way back and join the queue. You're better off having parked your car waiting for this path to clear up rather than having taken this detour. This is why I say practice patience. When you feel you want to do something because you can't bear that vexation, chances are 80%, 90% of the time what you're about to do will be something that is unmeritorious. Practice patience. Be patient. Let me give you a crude example. You get on the bus, right? You're a young man. You see a girl in the bus, and you feel like you want to approach this person. not because you're kind, not because you want to offer her a seat. Now you feel vexation. So there's two ways you can deal with this vexation. One, you can redeem yourself from vexation. The other is you can find relief from vexation. Relief will only come through abhisankara. So the abhisankara would be to walk up to that person and start rubbing on that person's body. Things people do. Shameful, but things that people do. Now that is relief from vexation. But when you do that, you just bought another ticket. You have just extended that baggage belt by another mile. You are not any nearer to redeeming yourself from suffering. You have just extended yourself. You've pushed any effort you might have made towards Nibbana has just been reversed. So far back, you're probably even further back than you started. What you should have done is be patient. If you don't have the means, if you don't have the power to overcome that desire, practice patience. No, I will not do it. Turn the other way if you must. Get out of that bus if you must. Go catch another bus. Because no matter what you do, don't indulge in sensual or sexual misconduct in that example. Because the consequences of that is going to be pretty serious. Forget karma vipaka. Think about, what if someone catches you in the action? What if someone sees you doing it? You're going to get the beaten out of you. How many people get admitted to hospital because they couldn't control themselves in some kind of public transport? Got beaten up in hospital. Black eye. You get out of the bus with fewer teeth than you went into it. You got beaten up. Why? Because you didn't have patience. So practice patience. Practice patience, but that alone is not enough. Because once there's going to come a point where you can't bear this. There's going to come a point where it's going to break. You're going to have to let go. Before that point comes, practice the path. Get the Dhamma. Redeem yourself from that suffering, from that vexation. And the only way to do that is to reflect on Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Seek instruction. Practice. Otherwise, one day, the last straw is going to break that camel's back. And when that last straw is dropped, now there's going to be a deluge. There's going to be an ocean of vexation that is being relieved. And when that happens, there's going to be non-stop. You're going to start doing karma, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And each of those karma will bring you vipaka. And you're not going to be a happy bunny when it comes. So watch out. Make sure you take the time to do the homework I asked you. When you get back, get out a notebook, start jotting down. Who are the 5 people I spend most of my time with? At the workplace, at home, at school, weekends, right? Who are your closest friends? Write them down. In your club, right? Otto's club, this club, that club, whichever club you go to. Now, who are the 5 people you spend most of your time with? Write them down. Now, if you want to know the kind of person you are, go through that list and start listing out what are their good characteristics, what are the characteristics you're not proud of, what that they wouldn't be proud of and you're not proud about either. Once you've got tallied the two, the average of that is what you are. If you're not happy about that, now it's not time to change them, it's time to change you, because you had better stop that association. Find someone else to associate. Sometimes maybe you don't have the liberty to do that, because the 5 people that you surround yourself are your colleagues who sit around you at work, so you have no choice. It's better to not even engage in unnecessary conversation, but that is not practical. I could suggest it, but it's one thing to say and another thing to do. And I can't suggest, go change jobs, because again, that's not practical. So the best thing to do is to get yourself the insurance plan so that they cannot influence you. Build that fortress around you, the fortress of Dhamma around you. When you talk to them, right, this is just meaningless talk. Yeah, talking politics, economics, this, that, then the other. No point in talking these things. And they're talking about raga, they're talking about dvesha, they're talking about moha. You know all this, but you're not letting yourself to be influenced. You're not letting yourself to be manipulated by what they say. If you can't change the environment. Or, for those of you who are fortunate, the invitation is open. Because then, you don't have to associate people who come and defile your minds with raga, dvesha, moha. You can distance yourself from them. Because the Buddha has advised monks to live in solitude. So there's freedom to do that. But when you're out there, you can't live in solitude. Of course, you need the meals and you can go on Pindapata. You don't have to go shake hands and say hello and ask them what the day was like when you go on Pindapata. You just go and hold the alms bowl. Whatever gets dropped in, that's what you take. You don't have to have any additional relationships with people. I'm not saying everyone's bad. Well, there are no bad people and good people after all. But what I'm saying is, just check where you are. At least it will give you an idea. Where am I? And try and associate people who are keen on Nibbana as much as you possibly can. This is why Guru Hamdulillah says, try and visit the monastery every time you get a chance. Not always the monastery. If there's a local temple where they talk about Nibbana, of course, go there. Don't have to come here. But if you're keen on Nibbana, make sure that your associates at least it's also one of their top priorities. Otherwise, with every passing day, you'll come here, we'll give you the Bana, we'll talk about Nibbana, but that's only one day out of 7. Right? If you come along to the Saturday programs, that may be 5 hours. If you come to the English program, maybe another 3 hours, that's 8 hours. You come to the Wednesday program, maybe another 8 plus 8, 16. Compare that to the rest of the week that you spent out there. That's less than a day. Just over half a day. So half a day you spend in the Dhamma, 6.5 days you spend with worldly beings who only talk to you about raga, dvesha, moha. Good luck. So parents, not just you but also those listening online, if you see that there has to be a better alternative for your children, then push them. I'm given up with saying encourage them. Push them. Push them to the path of Dhamma, because you have a right to do that. You're their parent. None of us can push them, but you can. Like you push them to do their scholarship exams well. You push them to do their exams and O-levels and A-levels. You pushed them, didn't you? My parents pushed me. Did you not push your children? My parents pushed me. So they pushed me, because I didn't have a strong need or a desire for it. So they pushed me. Likewise, push your children to the Dhamma. Make sure they get it. One day they're going to be independent. Let's hope that they become independent in the Dhamma before they become independent socially. Because otherwise, if the latter comes first, then they'll have moved out of your zone of influence. Then they'll go, who are you to tell me? I'm 18 years of age. I'm an adult. Don't you be telling me what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. At least if you bring them up in the customs and in the Sri Lankan culture, at least still, I think children respect their elders and adults and parents, and they listen to what they say. But the further you move away from culture and customs, children are very spoilt. They don't want to listen, because all they hear on TV And also what they're taught at schools is become independent. So you don't have to listen to what your parents say. If your parents try to hit you, ring 999 or whatever child line they have nowadays. Who am I to say what's right and wrong? All I can say is, when I hear these things happening, I can forecast what their future is going to be like. They're getting themselves a one-time visa, a one-way trip. You know where. Save your children. From time to time I remind you, save your children. I'm reminding you again, save your children, dear parents. Save your children. Please save your children on their behalf. You brought them here. You brought them into this world. Now do justice. You haven't done your job simply by bringing them into this world. Because all they're doing is what you did until you got the Dhamma, and that is doing what they need to do to stay alive. That is not the purpose of life. A life fully lived is a life where one has done what one needs to do so that they don't have to keep doing the things that they have to do to stay alive. If you got it, you got it. Otherwise, that's just a lot of words. Okay. Conscious of time, so we'll bring it to a close. But make sure you make that list. People that you spend most of your time with. Absolutely essential. It's something I did even in my lay life. I've had lots of mentors in my lay life who helped me to become successful as a lay person. And one of the first lessons I got is make a list of all the people that you spend your time with, and of that, highlight the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Now he said, the person who mentored me said, you are the average of those 5 people. And that was a real kick to me on the backside. And I started to change. Because I realized I was simply living a lethargic life without any purpose, just going by day after day. I wasn't going to get anywhere. Because most people I surrounded myself with was just complaining about the economy, complaining about the country, complaining about the politics, complaining about the weather. It was just complaint after complaint after complaint. No one looked introspectively and started to fix themselves. Everyone was looking outside and blaming everybody else. So I realized, why am I like that? Well, it's because those were the people I associated. So I changed it. As much as I could influence. Make sure you do that. You will realize the gravity of it after you've done it. So try it out. Okay. I don't have the English Dharamayai sheet here with me. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of birth, freed from the fire of decay, freed from the fire of illness, freed from the fire of death, freed from the fire of sorrow, freed from the fire of lamentation, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of suffering, freed from the fire of discontentment, freed from the fire of exhaustion, freed from the fire of disappointment, freed from the fire of clinging on to the five aggregates, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the suffering of samsara, freed from the disease of samsara, freed from the fear of samsara, freed from the fire of samsara, freed from the burning of samsara, freed from the sorrow of samsara, freed from the lust of samsara, freed from the clutches of samsara, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. The karma worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the karma worlds. The rupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the rupa worlds. The arupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the arupa worlds. All worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from all the worlds. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Letting go is the only salvation. May I and all beings let go. Detachment is the only salvation. May I and all beings be detached. Being freed is the only salvation. May I and all beings be freed. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the bondage of lust, freed from the bondage of aversion, freed from the bondage of delusion, freed from the bondage of Mara, healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana, 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 healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana. I want you all for a moment to spare a thought for all those men and women, wherever they may be throughout the country, who may be suffering because of the loss of a loved one, or suffering because of the turmoil that they would have gone through throughout the last days and weeks. Be they friend or foe, in the path to Nibbana we have no enemies, we have no foes. So whoever they may be, whichever religion they may believe in, have their faith in, whatever the color, whatever race, whatever belief system they might have, they're all beings who are destitute in samsara, lost and in despair. Sparing a moment for all those beings, whether they be family or not, friends or not, whoever they may be, wherever they may be, let us all take a moment to spread loving kindness to all of them. May I and all beings in all worlds be healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana, 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 healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana. Okay. Let us take a moment then to transfer the merits of this meritorious deed that we have all engaged in and conclude the sermon. First and foremost, let us once again take a moment to appreciate that it is because of the supremely enlightened Buddha, the omniscient one, the perfectly enlightened one, that we have the Dhamma today. It is because of his infinite compassion towards all sentient beings that we have the path to liberation today. Let us also spare a moment to the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis, Upasaka, Upasikas who throughout the generations sacrificed their lives on some occasions to protect and preserve the Dhamma. It is thanks to them that today we have the Tripitaka which we can study, analyze and comprehend and help us attain Nibbana. Therefore, may all those members of the Bhikkhus and the Bhikkhunis as well as the Upasaka and the Upasikas who would have sacrificed their lives and dedicated their lives in some way, shape or form to protecting and preserving the Dhamma, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. If any of them have today been born in the woeful planes, may through the power of these merits they be able to redeem themselves from the woeful planes and be born in the blissful planes. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all the members of the Mahasangha, wherever they may be throughout this world. It is they who have dedicated their lives to protecting and preserving the Buddha Shasana for our benefit, on our behalf. It is thanks to them that today we have nuns and as well as the members of the Sangha, nuns and monks who are there to guide us and help us practice the path to seek our own liberation. Although you have come along today to this monastery to listen to the sermons and practice the path, do not for a moment forget that it is the members of the Mahasangha who are resident in your local temples, in your local monasteries, in your local nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. They have always been by your side to guide you, to assist you, to shape your lives to become the good citizens that you have become today, as well as to give your children the Dhampasa, education and so on and so forth. So let us all take a moment to reflect for a moment on the indispensable service that has been rendered by the Mahasangha in the past, today and also in the future, and past these merits that we have all acquired towards them. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. May these merits empower them such that they may be able to practice the path and seek the liberation that they have sought in coming to the Sambuddha Shasana. May they all be able to, through the power of these merits, abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmanas, spirits, demons, and the dead that we invited at the start of this sermon. May they all be able to rejoice in these merits. As well as that, let us take a moment to transfer merits to your ancestors, those who have predeceased you, those beings who will have been your mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, grandparents, and so on and so forth. Perhaps a teacher, not just in this birth but also in your previous births. In whatever shape, in whatever form, or in whatever capacity they might have helped you, assisted you, guided you in some way, shape or form, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. If any of them have been born in the woeful planes, may through the power of these merits they will redeem themselves from those woeful planes and be born in the blissful planes. And may they all through the power of these merits be able to abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all those men and women who have dedicated their lives to protecting our country, those who might have lost their lives in the course of doing so, members of the armed forces as well as members of the police force, and as well as innocent civilians who might have lost their lives in the wars that have happened in Sri Lanka, as well as the difficult times that we are experiencing at this moment throughout these days. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Be friend or foe, let us not forget that every man and every woman ever to have existed has at some point been a mother to us, has at some point been a father to us. Mothers and fathers who have shed blood, sweat and tears on our behalf. So, it is only right that we, without bias, without discrimination, have the compassion in our hearts to spread loving kindness as well as these merits to all sentient beings. So may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. If any of them have today been born in the woeful planes, may through the power of these merits they redeem themselves from those woeful planes and be born in the blissful planes. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all those men and women who would have helped you to be here today, either by offering you a meal or perhaps by ushering you to a seat, or maybe by providing you with transport so that you were able to come along. Perhaps there are members of your family who might have taken on your chores, your duties and responsibilities, or perhaps those at your workplace who have taken on your duties and responsibilities, and having done so they have been able to relieve you of such duties and responsibilities so that you could be here today and listen to this sermon such that you are able to now travel the path to your own liberation. It is thanks to them that today you have been able to seek that freedom. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. And in passing on these merits to them, may they all be able to be in good health. May they all be able to rejoice in these merits. May they all be able to abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all those men and women who have, in whatever capacity, helped and supported this sermon to have taken place today. There may be scientists among them, or there may be their apprentices who have supported them and been by their side, perhaps by inventing the technology that we use today, or servicing them, or perhaps by making it available for mass consumption. In whatever capacity they might have helped us, they may be acquaintances of ours, or maybe those that we do not know, those who we are not aware of. Whatever capacity they might have helped us and extended that support, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, as well as the gods that seek abode throughout the premises of the monastery, in providing the safety that we so require in these difficult times, in whatever capacity they might have offered that. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. It is thanks to them that today you have been able to listen to this sermon in comfort, as well as putting aside any fears that you might have in your mind. May through the power of these merits they be able to redeem themselves from any woeful planes that they might have been born and be born in the blissful planes. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the course of all the merits that we have all acquired today, may these merits empower and energize people, men and women just like yourselves, who are striving day and night to redeem themselves from the shackles of samsara by practicing anicca dukkha anatta. May they all be able to rejoice in these merits that we have all acquired today, and may through themselves we all be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Mahanses in this blessed land, in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the course of all these merits, you and I, and everyone who will have helped, supported, assisted in any way, shape or form, be able to become one of those Arahatun Mahanses, be able to become one of those Arahat Mehin Mahanses, and be able to complete and fulfill the teaching of the Supreme Buddha, such that we can all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this very life itself, and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetva, dvesha ginnen midetva, moha ginnen midetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satvayo, Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. Tunuruwange suvisi ananta maha guna belen siru loka siru satyama Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of desire. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of aversion. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of delusion. May I and all beings in all worlds attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the noble triple gem be with you all forever. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.